Okay guys, John with you, and I've completed the construction. Yes, the construction is finally done, and just before I show it you, little quick sort of a run through of my thoughts on the build itself. Okay, it's a dragon kit, but not your typical dragon kit as far as I'm concerned. Usually when you get a dragon kit, it's got tons and tons and loads of parts that you're going to be left over with. We've all seen them. You get your instructions out and it's got plenty of blue marks on them as for pieces that are not used. This on the other hand had nothing left over, well, apart from say a few extra bits of track and things like that just sort of to get everything in on the sprues and all that. There was a couple of bits left over, and it's handy to have a few pieces left over as well, especially with track. But when it comes to panels and things like that, nothing left over whatsoever. So that was different from the normal dragon kit. Another difference is the fact that parts count was very, very small. Okay, I wouldn't say very, very small, because it was doing you had loads of parts of the tracks and the wheels. But when it came to say the upper hull and the turret, there were very, very few pieces to put on. Okay, you didn't have separate panels to pop in and loads of little brackets and mounting doohickeys and stuff like that. But then again, it's not that type of vehicle. The vehicle itself was pretty sparse. What more can be said about that? If it doesn't have the pieces on it, then sort of they can't go off and make them to go onto it. But overall, I really enjoyed the build. I really did enjoy the build. Couple of little, I wouldn't say fiddly or tricky parts, but it wasn't a simple, straightforward build. Those bogies were unusual, to say the least, in building those. I'm comparing this now to say most other kits and vehicles, and it's an unusual vehicle itself. So you're going to have that anyway. The side skirts were massive compared to any other tank, and just a couple of other little bits and pieces that were getting those side skirts on. You to try and kind of clip it into place in 2 or 3, even 4 places for it to kind of hold, then tape it and then glue it, if you know what I mean. It wasn't as straightforward as just putting it up to it and gluing it on. It was kind of a little bit more difficult than that, but not difficult at all overall. Am I making any sense? I think I am. I think people are kind of getting an idea of what I'm talking about. So anyway, here she is, lads. There it is, built. I did stick on the barrels. They're only temporarily on. I just used a little spot of super glue on each one, on each of the mounting things for it. And yourself with super glue, when you put them onto stuff like this, a little bit of lateral movement and off she'll pop. But I just put it on there just for the for the reveal of the construction final part of it. Right now, the kit does come with 2-piece barrels, but James included 2 beautiful aluminium barrels with this kit for me, and again, I thank you to Mr. James Buckingham for sending this kit on to me. I really do appreciate that, and I just give him an extra little shout out, because I forgot to mention him a couple of times in a couple of the makings of it, so I do apologise. But there was the metal barrels were included in that, and as you can see, they really make a nice difference to it. They really, really are nice. A weird looking vehicle, as in a tank, as in pretty darn weird is right. Quite large. Okay, we will show you when the whole painting and all that is done how large it is compared to, like I said, I'm going to compare it to a couple of vehicles. I'm going to compare it to a King Tiger, a Panzer IV and a Hetzer. So stay tuned to the channel for that and see what those four vehicles look lined up side by side. And you can see that it is quite large, but not overly large. If you see pictures of this thing without it sort of anything to kind of reference it to, you say to yourself, God, it's a behemoth of a vehicle, absolutely massive. And yes, it is quite big, but not as big, shall we say, as I had thought originally, but still quite big. Then again, I mean, they did come up with even bigger again. I think it was the Rata. That's even bigger again. I think there is one chap making a Rat on the for the group build, and shall we say, the bogies themselves have sort of 8 wheels on each rather than 4, which I have on this, and it looked sort of, you showed the underside of it, and it looked pretty darn busy compared to this one. But still in all, this is a lovely, lovely kit. Really delighted to have made this. And like, if you'd asked me before this whole group build and the whole idea of the group build came about, it wouldn't have been on my list. Okay, paper panzers were never really on my list of, you know, potential builds. And when I decided to do this group build and come up with this group build, that's why I said I'd go for something totally out of the ordinary, and something that I wouldn't normally go for, but yet within the scope of what I do. So I picked armour, and I picked a kind of an armour that I wouldn't normally go for. Okay, because I go from World War I right up to modern day stuff. But when it comes to the weird and wonderful paper ones, you know, they were sort of prototypes just about built, and that's about it. And with this one, I don't think there was an actual working one. I'm not 100% sure, but I know there was two hulls made and 2 turrets. One was completed, but whether it was completed with engine and tested and all that, I do not know. I kind of didn't do a full research on it, which I normally do. But I'm sure during the painting process now, the next couple of days, I will sort of, while paint is drying, I'll be looking at a couple of videos on this, on the MAUS, because it's really sparked my interest as an unusual vehicle. And speaking of unusual vehicles, and the fact that it was never really went into production, who's to say what way it was going to be painted? So I'm going to make up my own. I came up originally with, I was saying to myself, I do a variation of the NATO camouflage, 4-tone NATO camouflage, you know, the dark yellow, green, brown and black. And then I thought of sort of the Irish camouflage, which is 2 colours of green, a light green, a dark green, a brown and a black. And I'm going to kind of stick with, say, the type of colours from the Irish one. Okay, so I'm going to go for 2 colours of green, a light green and a dark green, a brown and a black. That's going to be the colours I'm going to use. I haven't finalised what pattern I'm going to come up with yet, but it's going to be literally off the top of my head, and so nobody can go off and say, oh, they wouldn't have done that, because, like I said, these never went into production, so who's to say? And by the end of the war, who's to say that the Germans wouldn't have come up with a 4-tone camouflage, or 4-colour camouflage? And who's to say that it would have to be in the dunkelgelb and the red-brown and the dark green? You know, who's to say that they were colours they were going to use? So, great thing about the whole idea of doing something that's never went into production is you can kind of decide yourself how you're going to paint it and everything else. Okay, and kind of realistic, but yet out of the normal realms of German camouflage, but realistic is in the fact that it will be a military looking camouflage. Okay, so that's it, lads. Don't forget to join me for the painting. Okay, The next step now, when you see this, will have one of its first 4 colours on. I'd say it'll be the lighter of the greens. That will be, say, the base colour, and we'll work our way around then from that. Whether I'm going to do a kind of a smooth or jaggedy, I haven't really decided on that yet, but the next time you see it anyway, it will be green, and it will be light green, and that will show up any flaws as well, if I might have made boo-boos. Little bit of tidying up to do before I go to that, because I just spotted there, I have a tiny little gap here down along the front. Okay, you can see it there. It sticks out like a sore thumb once you can see it. Didn't spot it earlier. Another tiny little gap here. Okay, so I sort of attend to those before I start painting. So I'm going to spend tonight doing all the repair works, sanding off any excess glue marks, things like that, and then I'll give it its first coat of green. So the next time you see it, it will be in green. So anyway, lads, thank you very much for taking your time out to watch it, and hope to see you all again soon in the next video, which should be up in the next day or two. And if it's not, don't forget to join me on Friday night for the live stream. So anyway, lads, I love you and leave you. See you on the next one. Take care. But in the meantime, go out and buy yourself a kit, build it, and enjoy it. And I'll see you soon. Take care.